Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with another episode of the Strafing Run. And today I thought I would take some time out to discuss games that I am playing or planning on playing in the future. You are, of course, free to suggest some titles to me if you have an idea for something that you might like to watch me play through, preferably something with a decent storyline. PC or PlayStation 4. Generally, I prefer PC. If I have the choice. It's just that lately I've been glued to a lot of hot PlayStation 4 exclusives, which again is really the only reason I own the console, is because of exclusive titles. If Uncharted or Horizon Zero Dawn or The Last of Us was on PC, then yes, I would be playing them on PC. I do prefer the graphics, the controls, the options, and things of that nature. But with that said, I'm currently playing through the Nathan Drake collection, which is Uncharted 1 through 3 remastered for PlayStation 4. They run at a native resolution of 1080p and a frame rate of 60, as opposed to the 720p 30 that they used to run at back in the day on PlayStation 3. I'm upscaling those videos though, so you will get 1440p resolution and a higher bitrate. For those of you that don't know, YouTube allows content creators to upload videos up to 4K and at higher bit rates. So if you're watching a 1440p video, you might be getting something like 24,000 plus bit rate. I don't know if it's a little lower than that. I don't exactly remember, but there's a chart out there that tells you what you're getting. But anyways, for me, it's usually over 20,000 bit rate at 1440p. If you're watching it at 1080p, it's something like 12,000 at 60 frames per second. So the higher resolution you watch, the better the bitrate. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that every video out there is doing the same thing. For example, there are some content creators that don't understand the relationship of resolution and bitrate. But for the most part, you've got to provide your resolution with enough bitrate. Otherwise, you're still going to get a crap video. So for me, you're getting the best that you can possibly get on YouTube. And if they improve their standards, then of course mine will match. But with that said, yeah, I'm just really enjoying the Uncharted experience again. My favorite game of all time has become Uncharted 4, and I remember loving 1 through 3 back in the day. And 1 has held up pretty well. The gameplay speaks for itself. Of course, there are things that I can critique, nitpick here and there, but really it's just minor. And the Uncharted titles just got better with age. They were a lot different than 4. 4 was much more grounded in reality, whereas 1 through 3 were a lot more Indiana Jones, supernatural elements, sci-fi fantasy in some ways. But really, I don't know, 4 was just still amazing to me in spite of that, and it's still cool seeing the older games and how they've aged, and so far it's quite well. Looking forward to jumping into 2 and 3 as we finish up 1. Right now, just editing and rendering for those. But with that said, I'll be doing Uncharted: The Lost Legacy after the Nathan Drake collection. The Lost Legacy, in terms of timeline, is after Uncharted 4. And then beyond that, some of you have been asking about The Last of Us DLC. I will try to get into that if I can. I think it's pretty short. It might only be about 2 hours or so. So even though, well, I was thinking about maybe doing an hour each. So maybe do the 2 hours of that. If it's 2 hours, I'll see how it goes. I kind of want to keep the videos down to 35 minutes maximum with a 20-minute minimum. I did a poll recently on Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon asking people what length of video are you most likely to complete, and the winner was 30 to 35 minutes. So I'm going to keep it at that, around there, maybe a little bit of bleed over, because I noticed in terms of analytics stats, a lot of people just don't watch videos that are over an hour. They see the hour and like, oh, I'm not going near it. And that's just viewership habits. Totally understand. You don't have time for it. I will tell you that YouTube does remember where you left off. So if you watch 10 minutes of a video, it says, okay, here's where you last played the vid. Here's where you left off. Continue. But still, I get it. Some of you just out of habit want to watch it in one go. I tend to be the same way in some cases. So I'm going to try to bring them down to 20 minimum, 35 max. So we'll see with everything else and how it goes. I generally try to get it to an appropriate length based on the edit. So it has to make sense for the story. I like to complete a chapter. You'll notice with Uncharted, there's a lot of cliffhangers, and it's not intentional. It's just because that's the best place to end the video, really, without going above 35 minutes. So with those games laid out, Star Wars Battlefront 2, I think is in November, is going to have a single player campaign. I'm excited for that. Well, assuming it's decent. Here's hoping. Call of Duty World War II campaign, maybe. We'll see. The Infinite Warfare one gave me some problems in terms of copyright strikes, and I still kind of wanted to do that. I only did about an hour of it, and it was pretty good, but again, I got hit by the strike, so I stopped. I might just take the hit and hope that I get enough support on Patreon to be able to, go through it. Speaking of support, for those of you wondering how to help me, yes, Patreon, financially, subscribing on Twitch, bits, hitting those like buttons, not using ad blocker, sharing my content, watching the content. Maybe you're thinking, I don't like playthroughs, let's plays, walkthroughs, whatever you want to call it. I'm not into them. Strafe, sorry. Totally cool, respect it. I will say, do me a favor and watch one video in any of my playthroughs, just one, and see how you feel about it. Mine might be better than somebody else's. I don't talk over the cutscenes or the dialogue. I let the voice actors do their jobs. I only talk when there's nothing, being said by those characters. I add to it. I react to things as naturally as I think that I would in any other given situation. Obviously, if there's a boulder about to roll my face over, then yeah, I'm probably going to react in such a way that is, fitting of the game in question. And that's pretty much most of my Uncharted experiences. And you know what? Speaking of Uncharted and me reacting to things, I think the reason I get along with Uncharted and that they're some of my best playthroughs is because Naughty Dog and I have a very similar sense of humor. I always get along with the type of sense of humor that Nathan Drake has, and I think that's why my personality gels well with that playthrough and why I end up enjoying the situations presented to me in those games. I don't know, there's just something about it where I feel that I fit in. And I don't know, I guess my daydreaming about being a witty or sarcastic asshole of an adventurer sometimes show through. But anyways, with that said, yeah, if you want to help me out, if you're wondering how to help me out without it being financial, then just watching my vids is always appreciated. And yes, those like buttons, I hate asking, but it's a statistic. It makes me look good. It helps me. It's kind of like bumping up a video, right? Hitting a like button, adding it to a favorites playlist, sharing with your friends and things like that. Following me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I have as well. I have a SoundCloud with all my voiceover work on it. If you want to follow me there, again, that stuff helps and is very much appreciated. But we were talking about games for the future. Last of Us Part 2, duh, I'm going to cover that, but I think that's in 2018. I can't think of anything else. Maybe some older things. I don't know if I already mentioned maybe replaying Quake 1, the Doom playthrough, which the only reason I didn't play the new Doom was because of Uncharted 4 coming out in May. I think it came out around the same time. I think Doom came out before Uncharted 4, and that's why I didn't play Doom, because some time flew and I was in Uncharted. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to be about it for today. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns in regards to the YouTube channel, lay them down and I will try to get to them. Live streaming is a tad on hold while I play through some of these games. I want to try to fit in some more streaming, but I also need some games that are going to be stream friendly. I need to tackle some more DCS. I've had to do some things with the house that forced me to move some things around, so all of my joysticks and things are not currently hooked up, and I have to make some space for the new Warthog HOTAS. And so yeah, I haven't been playing too much DCS lately, but I definitely need to get back into that because I'm totally in the mood for some aerial nonsense. For me, it's nonsense because I'm generally quite bad at it, but it's a lot of fun. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Very much appreciated. I'll see you on the next one.